Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you a few different ways how to cut objects in Selfcat and a little bit explaining also stitch and scoop, which is a standard Boolean operation. I'll start with stitch and scoop. I have here two objects, and suppose I want to take this cylinder to cut out from the sphere. Now pay attention that you have here the object peeking out from this side and from this side, so it pulses through the entire volume. In this case, what will happen is if I subtract this object, it will actually cut out the object completely, and you get the hole because this is basically breaking the volume. And obviously, it's creating this cylindrical pieces, the inside, and so on. Now let's take a look what will happen if it doesn't cut through the entire volume. So I'm just going to move it up a little bit, the same thing, something like this, so it's not coming out from the other side. And in this case, it should leave a shouldn't go through a hole. It will leave this object the bottom face, basically cuts out where it is. Now this may vary depending, both objects are manifold. In some cases, I have another video on my channel where to explain non-manifold cases, this could be used in a different way to actually make a hole instead of things. So let's say actually if we could reproduce it, you know what, let me just do it now simple. So I'll select here something and I'll delete these faces, so I have a hole over here, so this object is no longer manifold. And now I would expect it wouldn't create the inner parts, it will just make it as a hole. And let's see, it's hard to see it as of now. And actually, yes, that's what happened. So you can see there's no inner part, it just cut it out because there was no volume. And I'm not going to go into this to make a long video, but basically the idea is this is cutting volume. If there's no volume, the behavior is different. And I have another video how this could be used for a lot of interesting creative stuff, how this could be used. Nevertheless, let's go back now to the same object and let me show a few other ways. I'm going to isolate this object. Okay, so another way to cut is obviously you could just select the faces and delete them. Okay, so this is kind of a hole. You don't create anything inside, and then anytime when you don't have anything inside, you obviously have to use the add thickness. You can add positive or negative. In this case, let's say negative 5, so the thickness is added from the inside, and that will be something like this. Now what if you want to have this, but you want to cut it flat. So let's say just for example, let's say if you want to take this part and you want to flatten them and then cut out just this part. So in this case, I'll go to the flatten tool and I'll enter, you see it's 3.81, I'll enter 0, and this is flat. And then I can obviously go and delete this entire piece as a polygon, or select these inner faces and delete them and so on. The other way is to cut is using the cube selection over here. The cube selection is cutting cubic. So if you want to cut it in a different way, you have to rotate the object first because the tool doesn't have an option to rotate. And you can cut whatever is highlighted will cut if it has exact selection on. And then in this case, you can cut. So if you want to keep, let's say, just the bottom piece, I can just do inverse selection and keep this piece, or just play with the selection and the cube selection. And then obviously once it's selected, you can cut them. The final way I want to show is actually using cut with profile. If you go to the drawing, 3D sketch, there's an option to cut with profile. I first want to show something, the idea. I'll take another shape, let's say this shape, and in this shape I can simply draw, let's say, a simple rectangle over here, because this is a plane. If I'm drawing, you see I have planes, but I can also choose any object as a plane. And if I select now these two objects, and let's go to cut with profile, and you can see this has been cut. So now I can select this and delete them, whatever, extrude, whatever I need to do. Okay, so this would be something like this. Now, this example cannot work if I'm dealing with an object like this, because this is not a plane. So if you want to draw an object like this, you would have to go kind of draw between each face to make sure you kind of have the drawing and so on. And obviously this is tedious. So Selfcat has an option to choose objects, because otherwise, let me show you what will happen. If you draw like just straight, it will cut through the object. Let's say I draw from here to here. It's actually drawing in the object, but it's inside of the object because it's not wrapping around the object. So there's a tool here that's called object. And in this case, if I'm going to draw, let's say, a circle, it will actually wrap around the object. This bends it. If I take a line, you'll be able to see it better how it works. Let's say if I draw something like this, you can see this is wrapping. If you look closer, this is kind of wrapping around the object. So let me just take the circle and let's take an example how this will cut. If I select these two objects cut with profile, and this basically created this cut. So let's take a look. You can see this is nicely cut. I just have to select them, and then yeah, I can play with this and delete them, whatever. So as you can see, this is cut, and obviously you can do different type of the drawings. Okay, so not to waste your time over here, but that's it basically. The final way, I think, there's one more thing that I want to show is that you have actually added details that could be used a lot for a lot of things. These are relatively simple objects, are more complex objects and maybe more helpful. So let me show you an example. Let's say this object, you go to add the details, and you can see here, by the way, these lines were created from the cut. So let's say if I want to cut over here something, I can just add some details over here and kind of just create my or drawing details or adding vertices, and you know, that's basically the idea what you can do. And then you can go and select these pieces and so on. We have a few interactive tutorials that shows how to use added details in a more professional way on real design, not just random lines. But that's basically it, how you cut with SelfCAD, and I hope this is helpful. Let me know what do you think. Thank you.